why do you think you're able to perform in terms of sponsorships, and what does it take to actually sell as an influencer?
Yeah, I think first just to delve into the types of deals that brands will offer. So more often than not, for smaller pages, a brand will try and get away with, a deal where they're on, okay, we'll send you X amount of products per month. You can earn up to usually 15% commission using your code, and that'll be sort of the income you make from that. They won't be paying you a flat fee each month. As your page grows, you can sort of, you open up these opportunities. I think honestly, it's crazy how exponential that is in terms of the sort of offering you get once you hit a type of engagement, but also the community that you've built, and also the speed of growth. That's very important too, which is why the content that does grow your page, that's why you do need to implement an element of that. It can't just be building upon your current community. You always got to be thinking about the funnel for expansion, right? So yeah, that's those are the two types of ways you would make money through sponsorships. In the latter, they would offer you a fixed amount per month, and they would likely offer you a lower amount in terms of commission, because it's for them, it's so much a balancing act between, okay, we have this fixed cost, which is going out to them every month, but then we had the variable cost in terms of sales. For me, I would always prefer, I think, a larger fixed income and then a maybe potentially smaller variable cost. But honestly, that depends on the brand. It depends on the penetration in terms of my audience and where they're from. For example, I have a very large following in the US, so a US brand would perform very well. So that's something you need to keep in mind. But I think in terms of being able to do well in sales, you have to understand, again, your demographics, where your audience is coming from. For me, they are mostly between the ages of 18 to 30. Obviously, male dominant. That's that's a staple in the fitness scene. So it's probably about 15% female, 85% male. And just through knowing that, I am happy to partner with certain brands that are based out of the US that have very fast shipping in the US, because you want to really limit the annoying touch points between, okay, I'm based up in New York and I have to order something for a brand. Okay, does this brand offer next day delivery? These are things you have to bear in mind for sure, because if someone's going to use your code and you're going to generate a sale, you need to think about that user journey, which I don't think a lot of people do. They see the brand name, they're like, oh, that's instantly yes, but there are so many, I guess, limiting factors to that. And at the end of the day, there's no point in joining a brand if they're going to kick you out a few months later because you're just not generating sales. So you need to think about, which brand you're joining. Will you be able to generate sales? I mean, I'll even touch upon this, but, one of the first brands that I worked with, Hardbody, I will speak to the fact that, it's sort of a gym accessories brand. So they sell straps, they sell belts. And one thing I didn't really consider at the time of joining was how often someone is going to be buying a pair of straps, a really high quality belt. These are high ticket items in that maybe a belt would cost, I'm not sure, maybe 80 pounds, right? But how often are you buying a belt? If you're buying a good quality belt, you won't buy one for, 3-4 years, right? So I'm trying to sell this individual a belt that they will buy every 3-4 years. But in terms of the amount of content I'm making to do that, it's not, there's no justification of that. It's the amount of content I'm making and comparing that to the amount of sales I can make. So that was sort of a moment for me where I was like, okay, I need to really consider what it is I can sell on this page, what comes naturally. A piece of clothing like Gymshark, like people shop the sales like every month. You know what I mean? Like everyone wants more tank tops, more shirts. They want the latest Gymshark drop. So you have to think about the frequency of product renewals. You have to think about where your audience is and will they be buying it often, how expensive an average piece of clothing is there. But at the end of the day, it's all about how many sales you're able to make, the average sale value, and it has to make sense for the business. So if the business is paying you X amount in terms of fixed salary, you have to be generating a lot more than that for them to justify paying you that, right? Because at the end of the day, again, it's all about the ROI for them. And yeah, there is some, intangibles and I guess goodwill in the sense that they're like, well, you look good for the page. We use you for other campaigns, which is why it's so important to be able to network and really build your value, elsewhere other than just those sales.
No, 100%. And even just association with you, right? Depending on who you are. Not everyone is going to have that kind of aura, I guess, to them, where a
Absolutely.
brand is gonna be sold on just the fact that they're associated with you beyond the raw numbers of what that looks like. But some people definitely have that pull.
Becoming a Gymshark sponsored athlete is pretty much the dream for anyone starting out in fitness content creation. I sat down with Reed to go through his journey and learn about the things he did to get to the point where he got sponsored. And you can watch that full episode right here.